At the very same time, while these 158 countries are working hard conferencing together to halt nuclear weapons, the business that orders and makes them continues unfazed, rapidly moving forward, holding their exclusive so-called nuclear deterrence summits in style in Washington, D.C., for hundreds of competing undisclosed contractors, sponsored by our corporations, presented by and working intimately with our Pentagon, Departments of Energy and Budget, our universities, and the National Nuclear Security Administration, among others.
The current UK Trident warhead that's deployed in the present-day Trident strategic deterrent were all developed under this regime, together with the technical collaboration with US scientists and engineers and access to US facilities. I look forward to this interaction continuing and expanding. Testing in our business is as critical today as it was when we started nearly 70 years ago.
The role of money has always been important, but it's much bigger today. Financial world has become twice as big as it was 15 or 20 years ago. It's grown enormously, and they clearly are politically much more powerful than they used to be.
Huge profits for very few people. Where has that money really gone? Into the pockets of the contractors. And where did the money come from? The public. Their tax dollars have just been poured into this. Tax dollars are supposed to be meant to serve the people.
There's a disconnect. There's a couple things that are obvious. First of all, war is not about conflict resolution. It does not resolve conflict. We know how to resolve conflict. War is not about national security. It does not create national security. We know how to create national security.
This refurbishment is a jobs program, a way of keeping people employed. They have to have something for Los Alamos to do, and so they pay huge amounts of money to refurbish the warheads.
It's a great industry for themselves. It does not serve the American people.
The incredible commitment that too many members have to building more nuclear weapons when we don't have any targets anymore. And some people just think of the defense budget as a jobs bill. No, it should just be what enhances our security. And if you can't justify it on that basis, you just can't maintain it because it adds to the instability on the planet.
What is war about? From all the wars I participated in and all the wars I've studied, one thing became very clear to me. In every single one of them, a few people made a massive amount of money or got a great deal of power. And if that is the one constant salient feature, why do we refuse to consider that that's the cause?
They're a business that responds to customers. They respond to orders. They're getting orders to build bombers. And those orders come from Congress. The ultimate question, who decides here? If we still have a democratic system, we decide. Now, if we bail out, which is what we're doing, and pass the buck to other people, which we've usually done also, but we're doing it to a degree that is, I think, is unusual.
Take the $7.6 billion, the cost of the new uranium processing facility at Oak Ridge. In the end, it's really going to be 22 over a period of 10 or 12 years. Now, what could we do with $22 billion? And we don't need any more.
Many of these weapons from all over the country go through a quality evaluation process for future shipment back out into the stockpile.
There's enough stored there for 10,000 weapons. The excess material.
Our existing facilities were only built to a 10-year design life. I realistically feel this facility will be here for the next 100 years.
In one warehouse, the warehouse that we reached that day, 400 tons of highly enriched uranium.
Thank you, Sister Megan Rice, for your actions. Thank you for your willingness to focus attention on this nuclear weapons buildup that still exists.
One that's very unknown is the one at Oak Ridge, so we decided to highlight the activities that are going on there.
Our mission is to provide safe, secure, and efficient storage. This facility has been called the Fort Knox of uranium.
We felt we had to, in conscience. We knew about it, and we had to try to share that knowledge and expose the reality.
The cornerstone in that transformation process.
A huge secret, and it's been a secret since it began.
Those weapons come in, that uranium is then packaged or it's downblended. This container was developed in order to store a large quantity of nuclear material in the smallest footprint possible. This container has a neutron poison, which actually allows for that safe, dense storage.
This fence we deem to be illegal because it's keeping out the truth. We all have the responsibility to expose crimes. So we were able to pass through the first one, cross a road. We saw a security car go by. It never saw us. It was still very dark. And then we came to the 3 fences that are just before the building, actually. And we were able to cut through the first, cut through the second, cut through the third. Less than 10 minutes. It was not difficult at all. We actually brought some crime scene tape that we had labeled nuclear crime scene. And we found 3 pillars at the end of the building, and then prayer together. We had candles lit. When the guard got up to us, we could hear him saying 4:45 in the morning, "They are peace protesters. You better send some people." He was very calm about it.
This experienced guard was fired for not shooting them immediately or forcing them to the ground.
And then we said, "Could we please read this statement to you?" And he didn't say no, he didn't say yes. We were just waiting for whoever was going to come. So we were able to read the whole statement to him, and it's very beautiful.
We thank you for your courage. It's important that we have nuns on the bus, not under the bus, which a lot of people would like for you, sister. They think you should be punished and not praised. That's ultimately what the Sermon on the Mount is all about. You can't build more nuclear weapons and cut Medicaid and cut Pell Grants and cut Medicare at the same time. It's not just the arithmetic doesn't add up if you say you're balancing the budget, but the morality doesn't add up. It's just wrong.
The way our corporations would like it as well. Most non-Western nations' arms industries have no public transparency or accountability. Unlike these 3 who went to jail willing to pay the price to help expose truth, these industries that break the law where people die, if ever caught, settle out of court. There's no prison time. All American? I think we have better examples. Ever pervasively advertised to the public. They're good, wonderful charity foundations. Hide from us that the great bulk of their profits and industry is military focused. Stealing themselves behind patriotism, we too rarely hear of even a handful of the known out-of-court settlements. These are the very industries that can and must transform. For us to have good jobs and focus of our greatest minds toward creating and building what enhances all of humanity.
He warned us of exactly what you're talking about. When he warned the American public to beware of the military-industrial complex, it resonated very much with me that this is a risk, that it's the best interest of many businesses that we have, we be on a war alert, and so we're manufacturing tanks and helicopters and bombers.
Such a profound stake in the arms industry which governs this country.
Was already widely understood to be a very powerful element in American politics.
I was at his inauguration. He had the great credentials of having ran the whole European war, and he was just an idol.
He made the genuinely radical statement.
The military-industrial complex and its nuclear component, which Eisenhower talked about.
Sat there in the White House and really looked with dismay at how little power he had.
Yeah, that is a problem, and I don't know what the answer to it is other than to vote in legislators who will draw the line on that and won't permit we'll pull back on the amount of militarism that we do, but I find that wealthy people are more influential in government than poor people. So we continue to go the way we are.
Our senators and congressmen of these areas have inordinate power, for these facilities are the primary source of good-paying jobs for these districts, accruing huge payoffs. The call is to demand the leadership to transform. And what happens when representatives do stand up on this?
Madam Speaker, America's nuclear weapons budget is locked into a Cold War time machine. It doesn't reflect our 21st century security needs. It makes no sense. It is insane. Insane to spend $10 billion building new plants to make uranium and plutonium for new nuclear bombs. It's insane that we're going to spend $84 billion for up to 14 new nuclear submarines when just one submarine with 96 nuclear bombs on board can blow up every major city. It's an insane strategy, but it's America's current plan. Let's cut new nuclear weapons, not the poor, the sick, the children, and the elderly of our country. Support and co-sponsor the SANE Act.
So how has our system evolved to not work for the people? The military industry has no worries. Despite 40 representatives co-sponsoring this bill, the chair of the Armed Service Committee simply refused it. He never allows it to make the agenda for consideration. It dies the same day, gone, done.
The corporations are ruling the military, and the taxes pay for it.
We have these companies that are totally dependent on the stream of resources that, in the end, we the voters have given them. True enough, the system is a very distorted system, so if you get 10,000 physicists saying that you should stop sending money to Grumman and instead give it to somebody who's building a high-speed train, I mean, nobody will pay any attention. We just have a very weak political culture. That's, I think, the problem.
You know, General Eisenhower made a quote which I think is very important. He said, every rocket fired, every warship launched, every airplane built is in the final analysis a theft from those who are hungry and are not fed, from those who are cold and are not clothed. This world at war is not spending money alone, is spending the sweat of its laborers, the genius of its scientists, and the future of its children.
These are all really, in the end, political problems. They're not technical problems.